constantly told to have confidence in themselves and to embrace their bodies. But for 112,455,000 people in the United States, there's just too much body to embrace. 112,455,000 is the number of people in the United States who are not just overweight but actually considered obese. This is more than 1/3 of the U.S. population. The United States has a higher obesity rate than anywhere else in the world. And just a few decades ago, we did not have this pressing issue of obesity. So it makes me wonder what we're doing wrong here in the United States and why so many people are living unhealthy lifestyles. So I got to thinking, and while there's a lot of contributing factors that play into this unhealthiness, I think that there's three main ones. One being the numerous and convenient fast food restaurants that sit on every corner, the unhealthy living that the United States promotes and fosters, and just the lack of physical activity and laziness among Americans. Delving into one of the main issues is the convenient fast food restaurants throughout the United States. CBS News found that this year alone, Americans will spend over $110 billion on fast food. This is more than they'll spend on recorded music, magazines, newspapers, books, and videos combined. This colossal amount of money spent on fast food shows the lack of respect and care that humans have for their health. They would rather buy themselves obesity and unhealthiness instead of spending money on things that could actually help them, like a book, the newspaper, or healthy food. It's extremely evident that society's care for the health and well-being of the human body has been completely overlooked when it was found that that each day, at least 1/4 of the U.S. population will stop at a fast food restaurant and eat it. Not only that, but the children of the United States are obtaining 1/4 of their vegetable intake from potato chips and French fries. America is so focused on convenience that we're losing sight of what really matters, which is our health. Fast food is taking over our society. It's so prevalent that the 28,000 golden arches throughout the United States have become more widely recognized than the Christian cross, which is pretty sad considering the fact that 78% of Americans are Christian. Aside from the excessive number of fast food restaurants throughout the United States, the society in which we live is constantly promoting unhealthy lifestyles and fostering an unhealthy environment. Within the past few decades, America has transformed from an overall healthy and active society into lethargic and lackadaisical and basically just unhealthy society. So why has this change made, and what's causing all of this unhealthiness? It's suggested that we're now so unhealthy because 30 years ago, kids used to play outside and walk to school. Portion sizes were taken into consideration. Meals were cooked more frequently. And fast food was a rare occasion instead of a frequent happening. Americans would only eat one snack a day. However, between now and then, some changes have been made that have led to extreme unhealthiness. For example, kids are now driven to school, and instead of playing outside or doing sports and physical activity, they sit inside and they watch TV and video games. Families now have succumbed to the convenience and they quit cooking meals and they order takeout or they go get fast food. And instead of eating one snack a day, they eat 3 to 5. Not only that, but the portion sizes in which we're eating are extremely larger than they used to be. It was found that the portion sizes have grown 2 to 5 times within the past few years, or are 2 to 5 times larger than they were just in the past few years. Government statistics have found that portions are now, that beverage portions have grown since the mid-1970s. In the mid-1970s, the average sugar-sweetened beverage was 13.6 ounces, whereas today Americans think nothing of drinking a 20-ounce soda at a single sitting, and a lot of people drink more than one soda a day. So as if that's not bad enough, Americans today now eat 31% more calories than we used to 40 years ago, including 56% more fats and oils and 14% more sugars. The average American today eats 15 more pounds of sugar a year than we did in the 1970s. It's no wonder why today's average American is 20 pounds heavier than the average American 20 years ago. Finally, the fast food and unhealthiness in America is just is everywhere. You see it in these food advertisements that they place basically everywhere you turn, on public transportation, on billboards, on the internet, on TV. You get emails about it, pamphlets giving coupons to these places. Everywhere you just see food advertisements, and it makes it nearly impossible to escape these high calorie and unhealthy foods. And America is allowing this unhealthy environment instead of promoting the good stuff and the healthy stuff. Brownwell, an active doctor, found that the average American child sees 10,000 food advertisements a year, and 95% of these food advertisements are for candy, soda, sugared cereals, and fast food. So not only are we ruining our own health, but we're also molding the youth of America to grow up with these same unhealthy habits and unhealthy lifestyles, which it's going to make them just as bad, if not worse than us. So our obesity rate is already more than 1/3 of the U.S. population. So at this rate, it's only going to keep increasing, and the youth of America is just going to be even worse and more unhealthy. And finally, the last vital influence playing a role in the obesity and unhealthiness in America is the lack of physical activity. The CDC determined that 80% of Americans do not get the recommended amount of exercise they need. This staggering number shows the lack of care that Americans have for their fitness and their overall wellness. They would rather be lazy than go work out and be healthy. The CDC conducted studies finding that the average American works out about 2 hours a week. And the workouts and what they considered to be a workout was walking. While walking's good, it's not exactly strenuous labor. So while they're doing their workout for about 2 hours, it was also found that the average American eats for about 2.5 hours a day. So I think that it's pretty evident that the 2 hours a week of exercise that the Americans are getting is not going to cut out the excessive amount of calories that an American consumes in the 2.5 hours a day. So I started to think some changes need to be made here, but where do we go from here, and what changes need to be made, and what changes will be made? I think the quote from Tommy from No Strings Attached can pretty much sum it up. You want to lose weight? Stop eating fatty. Americans need to put down the food, put on their shoes, and get moving. They need to start taking into consideration the portion sizes and what they're putting into their mouths. They need to get rid of the fast food and start cooking for themselves and making sure that they're obtaining the right nutrients and food that they need. And they need to start exercising more so they can be fit and healthy. And while this may not be an easy transition, the rewards from eating right and being fit definitely outweigh the fast and convenient food that is increasing obesity and unhealthiness here in America.